here on Fox 14. Stephen Pappas alongside Dominique Williams, Jesse Davis, and Jeremy Bryant. We've already had a taste of college football around here, guys. We get the full course meal coming up this weekend. How are we feeling about it?
Oh, it's exciting time.
I don't know, speechless.
It's finally back. That's all I can
It's
say.
my favorite time. I get to gloat a little bit, but we're gonna wait. Wait.
Before we get into the season that will be, let's talk about the season that was in 2022 for the LSU Tigers, who really played above everybody's expectations in year one under Brian Kelly. Isn't that right, Jeremy?
That's right. They kind of overachieved a little bit. You go 10-4 for this last season, and you kind of go to the SEC championship. You lose to Georgia. There's no shame in that. Everybody loses to Georgia. But you have a high like that, there's some things you can work on, like the loss to Texas A&M in the rival game, and also losses to like Tennessee. There's things you can work on, and I think in year two they'll be better. But there are some things that they have to work on before they get to the regular season.
Absolutely, definitely not perfect. And Dominique, an ugly loss to Tennessee in early October. It seemed to springboard the team though to success down the stretch.
That's right. You know, that 40-13 loss pretty much, like, I feel like set the fuel on fire for LSU, because to mention, they didn't lose any other game after that Tennessee loss. And Jaden Daniels also trying to like find his rhythm after that game. And we saw Hooker, who actually went and got drafted to the Lions and had a complete impressive season as well. But I think LSU not losing one of those games, going to the SEC championships, pretty much set the tone. And I think they'll pretty much come back this year and handle business, unfinished business, I would say.
Well, there we go. And Jesse, without a doubt, that defining win during that stretch for the 2022 team was a fending off an Alabama team that came into Tiger Stadium expecting to win that game.
Yeah, that what you said, expecting to win, but we all know what happened there. The Tigers, they did was what nobody thought they were going to do. Like I said, beating Alabama 32-31 in overtime, going for the 2-point conversion, which kind of a lot of people questioned that call or whatever. It's like, this is it right here. But not only to get it, and it happened in Death Valley, fans storming the field, big moment out for the LSU Tigers. It was almost like a turning point at that time of season as well for LSU.
It's definitely a riverboat gamble, as we see so much in Louisiana. But after the break, we're going to take a look at how some of our local stars look to do this season. That and more next on the LSU Kickoff Special. Well, welcome back to our special edition of LSU Kickoff Special. We have a ton of local talent suiting up for the purple and gold this season. Jesse, one name very familiar, and that's Trey Holly.
Hey, you got that right. Mr. Do It All, Trey Holly, broke the Louisiana all-time rushing record, high school, #1. Guy was just shattering records last year, unstoppable on the field. It don't matter, you can load the box up. He was still finding a way to do what he did in high school. Now he's transitioning over to college at LSU. Was actually able to see a couple of videos of Trey last week, one-handed catches, putting the defender on skates. I think he's in that rotation, number three, number 4. So he's in that starting rotation, so we'll definitely be seeing Trey Holly's name a lot. Of course, he's going to be wearing number 25. I'm expecting him to have a solid year for a freshman. I think he'll get over 500 this year. I'm giving him a little bit over 500 yards rushing. I give him 9 touchdowns.
So you see him playing more in a role in games that matter, not necessarily in the cleanup games against, I don't want to throw Grambling under the bus here, but a Grambling or an Army or Georgia State, you see him playing a big role.
Yeah, sorry Grambling, but Grambling, funny thing about Grambling was the first team to offer Trey Holly. So the funny that you mentioned that. So he's going to be playing against Grambling. They offered him first. I think they're going to feed him that game to kind of let him have fun. I definitely see him, Auburn, getting some playing time. Alabama, I think he'll get a lot of playing time as well in that game. Next year, I'm definitely looking at number 2 spot for him.
Gotcha. So this is a prove it year. The year after that is more of a, he's going to be in the rotation.
Definitely a prove it.
Game year for him. All right, perfect. And switching gears to another big name around this area, it was a huge announcement coming from Brian Kelly and LSU on Saturday involving Will Campbell. He'll wear number 7. He'll wear a patch on the number 7, being Dominique mentioned earlier that an offensive lineman can't wear the number 7. He's going to join the greats like Tyrann Mathieu, Leonard Fournette, Patrick Peterson, taking that number. How special of a moment is that for the Neville High grad?
Man, I tell you, because I actually got a chance to meet Will Campbell at the Salvation Army where he was doing signing for the kids and stuff like that. And he talked about how much it was like fun of a freshman year season for him. He received 6 award honors, and being named LSU Offensive Lineman of the Year as a freshman, that's very big. He was ranked #1 in the state of Louisiana at his position, #5 at his position as well. And to wear that #7, as Brian Kelly said in that statement, is to honor the best players out of the state of Louisiana. And he'll just fall in line with the rest to name Jamar Chase, who got to play in the Super Bowl just a few years ago. And I'm just excited to see what he has for his sophomore year as he enters 2023.
And if you go down the list of players that wore that #7, obviously Tyrann Mathieu, Patrick Peterson, Jamar Chase didn't get to wear it because he sat out the year, but those are all skill players. You're now talking about an offensive lineman, and that means you really have had to make a big impact on your team if an offensive lineman's getting #7.
Yes, like that, I never knew there was like a such thing that an offensive lineman can even wear a single-digit number. But when you think about it, the running backs, corners, all the fast players are usually the ones who wear those type of numbers. But I think it's kind of special that they're making the patch, and he gets to wear it on his jersey to honor that. And we'll see how exciting he gets to do, on the gridiron this season.
Absolutely, more representing of Northeast Louisiana. Let's go a little bit away from Northeast Louisiana. We'll talk to Jeremy now. When we talk about quarterback Jaden Daniels, it's now year 2 under center in Baton Rouge. He led the team in both passing yards and rushing yards 4 games, 7 times out of the 14 that they played a season ago. Jeremy, do you think he needs to do anything more than what he did a season ago, or is what he had last year good enough for this team to make a run again?
I think what he did last year was absolutely extraordinary for his first year, but I'm going to throw some numbers at you. It's 2,900 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. He had over 800 rushing yards. He needs this year to be able to prove that he can win with his arm to take this team to the next level. This team is going to be very good, but they're not going to go the distance they want to if he isn't the guy that Brian Kelly needs him to be. To get to that playoffs, to get past the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Ohio States, he has to be extraordinary in the passing game to prove that he can take them there.
Well, obviously, when you look at him on film and you look at him just as a stature-wise, not the biggest guy. You look at a guy like Cam Newton who stood 6'4", probably 230 on a good day. He's more along the lines of those, Bryce Young-ish type quarterbacks of the small. Do you worry about him running a lot and possibly getting injured? Because don't get me wrong, Garrett Nussmeier is a fantastic backup, but Jaden Daniels is going to win you a lot more games than Garrett Nussmeier would.
He absolutely is. And when you talk about like the Bryce Youngs, you also got to remember, Bryce didn't win a championship starting. So it's good to have that bigger type prototype as a quarterback, but we've seen some skinnier types have success at that level and win championships. I don't worry too much about his size right now, but at the end of the day, it's all about making plays.
Yeah, and Jaden Daniels basically using his feet to win that game against Bryce Young last season. We'll see what they do next season when the two teams meet. But when we return, are the Tigers overrated, underrated, or properly rated? We'll have that. Plus, we'll dive into year 2 of Brian Kelly and what the team will look like coming up next. Welcome back inside the Fox 14 studios for the 2023 LSU Kickoff Special. Tigers head coach Brian Kelly is coming off of a very successful maiden voyage in Baton Rouge, a 10-4 record with a trip to an SEC championship game. All very impressive considering the season began with a loss to Florida State. Dominique, what should we be expecting from the Tigers here in year 2 under the Kelly administration?
As pretty much I mentioned earlier, it's unfinished business for them because even though they did make it to the SEC championships, they still did not make it out, falling short to Georgia. And honestly, I just think Brian Kelly coming in year 1 had an impressive year coming from Notre Dame, who's known to be an independent team, doesn't belong to any conference, and to come and dominate the SEC in year 1, as you mentioned, he's not a Southerner, so everyone kind of had doubts like, can he even coach in the SEC? And I think he proved them wrong. Even after the upset loss to Tennessee, which was supposed to be a win for LSU, they shut down and handled business for the rest of the year. So I can see him coming into year 2 a little bit better, improve, and pretty much another contender at the SEC championships and probably make it out.
So a lot of people probably at the start of his campaign were at like a 3 in terms of confidence when he walked in year 1 last year. You specifically, now looking into year 2, on a 1 to 10 scale, what do you got confidence-wise for him?
Confidence-wise, I feel like he's secured into the culture of LSU and took them to a bowl game. And after seeing that performance he's done with them, I feel like Like I said, he will try to battle. I think they're going to face Georgia again in the SEC championship, and it's going to be a toss-up to see if they can make it out in the top 4.
Yeah, definitely a lot more confidence than there was a season ago. Let's switch things over now. Jeremy, there was a ton of questions, like we mentioned, surrounding Brian Kelly coming in from Notre Dame, was fake Southern accent, just a bunch of stuff that ended up blowing out of proportion, randomly appearing, and many people thought he wasn't right for the job in year 1. What did you make of his first season in the purple and gold?
In year 1, I think he overachieved a little bit. A lot of expectations come into this conference where he's come from Notre Dame, had a lot of success, but when you come to SEC, there's a lot of expectations along with that program. That program is used to winning championships. So I think he overachieved over what he was coming into, going 10 wins, getting to the SEC championship. Nobody pictured that in year 1 for him, but I think he has done a great job so far. I think in year 2, he has to solidify some positions on the defensive end and kind of take that, get that to progress forward to come along with the offense, because we got to remember this defensive secondary, it lacks a little bit of star power than we're used to for LSU, but I think once he get that solidified, he'll be okay going from year 1 to year 2.
Yeah, and if you look at the year before, the last year of Ed Orgeron, this was a team that squeaked into a bowl game. The only reason they really, it wasn't a pity invite to the Texas Bowl. I know me and Jesse were there for that game, and that was probably 14 scholarship players that were on that team for LSU. He didn't inherit necessarily a pot of gold. He kind of turned this into what they were last year, and I guess I'll pose the same question that I did with Dominique, is his confidence level, the confidence level of the people probably wasn't very high when he came in first year. What's your confidence level of him going into year 2?
Confidence level for me right now, I have to say, I give it 7, considering I think they're going to compete in that division, but when you look at who he's got to face, you're talking about, we don't know how good Auburn is going to be this year. We know they're going to be good at one point. We don't know if that's this year. Alabama is still there. Given the quarterback battle, they're still going to be in the conversation. I know Jesse is looking at me kind of weird right now, but it's okay. They're going to compete. They're going to be in that top, but are they going to get back to that SEC championship? Right now, I can't say that they will.
Yeah, and I think you got a sleeper team as well in Texas A&M. You can never count out Jimbo Fisher.
Hey,
I know
man.
Dominique.
Hey, look, former Seminoles, I just have to say, don't sleep on Jimbo. He might sneak in there. Shoot, even Arkansas sometimes. You never know with those type of matchups being how close they are.
So it makes the SEC so good. All right, Jesse, the big question now. We're taking things, no expectations last year for the LSU Tigers getting to the conference championship game this year. A little bit different. The thought in college football, playoff or bust, the mentality going into the season for LSU. Are the Tigers overrated? Are they underrated? Or are they properly rated?
I gotta laugh at this.
Big one.
Okay, Alabama, New Jersey, Florida.
Miami, actually.
Louisiana native here. I gotta stick up for us now. I'm gonna go underrated. I really feel like we're underrated this year.
You think underrated?
I really feel like we're underrated this year.
I think overrated. Y'all get too much powerhouse. The powerhouse. Like, okay.
I think when you talk about overrated, underrated, it becomes negative or positive connotations. If your expectation is to win a national championship, and frankly you're a team that probably can just get to the SEC championship, I'd consider you overrated. It doesn't mean you're a bad team. It just means you're probably not a national championship contender. We'll see week 1 when they face Florida State, and that'll answer a lot of questions.
First L they're gonna take of the season. No shade.
We'll save that for a little bit later in the show to talk about that week 1 game. But we'll go down the line. Jeremy, underrated, overrated, or properly rated?
I gotta say, I'm sorry, Jesse, but it's a little overrated. A lot of success at Notre Dame, but we gotta think about it. He's going against Georgia. Is he gonna be able to get through there? So it's about, I think it's a little overrated when you talk about when he's been at the highest moments. You talk about that BCS championship. He got absolutely destroyed against Alabama in that game. SEC championship, 50-30. That is not a close game. I think it's a little overrated.
Here. What was the score last year?
50-30.
32.
It was not close.
Beat Alabama last year, 32-31.
All right, Dominique, what do you think? Overrated, underrated, properly rated?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to go overrated. Now, mind you, I do come from an ACC conference, being from the state of Miami. We don't say Florida, where I'm from, but, I say overrated. You can't have a lot of miss-ups like they lost to Tennessee last year, and if you take care of the rest of the schedule, but if you have a miss-up like losing to Tennessee early and not showing up and have to make up on yardage by your quarterback of Jaden Daniels is kind of like, And then they still have Georgia to face, who I see them facing the SEC championship.
I'll also throw in the rival game at the end of the year, Texas A&M. They lose that 38-23.
That's a bad loss.
You cannot lose to that team at the end of the year.
I'll play devil's advocate here. I won't say they're underrated. I won't say they're going to be overrated either. I think properly rated is a great place to put them. I don't think they're not necessarily national championship caliber. However, they could excuse their way into the SEC conversation if they could win a game against Alabama this year. At the end of the day, Florida State, this game is really only for the national championship conversation. They're still, if they lose this game, they still got a chance to win the SEC.
To win a two-loss team, it still has not made the playoffs.
Yep, then we'll get the expanded playoffs coming up soon. Well, coming up after the break, we'll give you a look at LSU's schedule this season. Plus, we take a stab at predicting the Tigers' record at the end of the year. That and more next. Well, welcome back to the LSU Kickoff Special. The Tigers this season with a very favorable schedule. Jeremy, let's take a look at some of those games.
Yeah, we got to look at it. Week 2, Grambling. I got to say this is not going to be a close game. Love Brett Grambling, but this is not going to be a good game. Halftime, we might be hitting traffic. So we're going to scroll on down.
Y'all not going to watch the band at least? You got to watch the...
We can hear for the band. That's going to be the highlight. Ole Miss. They blew Ole Miss out the water last year. 45 points put on Lane Kiffin. I gotta say, Lane Kiffin, one of the best coaches in college football. He's not gonna take that lightly coming back this year. I think that's gonna be a very close game. That might be a sneaky game for LSU. They might lose that, but I think it will be very close. And we gotta look at one of the oldest rivalries. LSU versus Florida. We don't know how good Florida's going to be. They lose Anthony Richardson, their top quarterback. A lot of talent still on this team, but how good are they going to be? It's going to be a very close game, but I still have LSU pulling that one out.
All right, so you talked about all the teams that LSU beat last year. And Jesse, let's get to what I like to call get-back games for the Tigers this upcoming season when you got your eye on their schedule.
I like the word. 2 words, get back. We're definitely getting back at the Seminoles this year, Florida State. Definitely after that, I don't like the way it ended. I mean, a missed field goal, it could have went either way. LSU, a lot of mistakes earlier in that game. Trying to fight back in it. I feel like Florida State, they hung around too much. This year, I feel like LSU gets on top early. I'm going, if we want to go score prediction, I don't think you want me to do that.
We'll get that score prediction later in the show. Hold that for later.
But definitely definitely getting back at Florida State. And Texas A&M, they're definitely getting them back as well. 23-38 last year. We want to get them back.
That was definitely a bad game, a bad way to end the season if you are Brian Kelly and company, especially after some of those big upset wins. All right, Dominique, now when we talk about all the things coming down to the wire, you're the decider in all this. LSU's record at the end of the year, what do you got?
All right, this year, I know last year they went 10-4, but I'm going to have to drop that down to 9-3. I have them losing to, of course, my alma mater, Florida State. Then Ole Miss, I really see them possibly losing because it's in Oxford, and we know how the energy is there. It's just going to be one of those deciding games, and I pick Ole Miss. And then the rivalry, Alabama. I'm sorry. Jeremy.
I'll go very quickly through it. I think you're right in the 9-3. I think they lose to Florida State week 1, Ole Miss, and Alabama. Those are my 3 losses. Jeremy?
My losses on the year for LSU. I'm sorry, a lot of talent is not going to be there in week 1. They lose to Florida State. I'm sorry, Jesse, but they lose week 1. We go down to Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's not going to take that light. He's coming back for that one. They'll lose at Ole Miss. Alabama. A mad Nick Saban is the worst type. He remembered that on the last play. He knows it's supposed to go the other way around. I'm giving them a loss in Tuscaloosa. I know you've been to LSU Stadium, but it gets loud in there, and there's 2 signals when you know the game is over. When the lights start flashing, they start singing the Heart of Dixie. The game is over. LSU will not go back on the bus with a win.
Jesse, really quickly?
Y'all been feeling like this.
Y'all
like
throwing
LSU.
shots at you, like swinging it.
Y'all ready for this? Undefeated. They're going back to the national championship. They're beating Georgia. I said it. You heard it here first.
All right.
That prediction is overrated.
We got some interesting takes, but when we come back, we'll briefly take a look at the weekend date with with Florida State coming up on Sunday. Welcome back into the LSU Kickoff Special. Now, before we leave you tonight, LSU Florida State squaring off Sunday to open up the season. Let's go around the room. Predictions. Who's winning? What score?
2 words. Florida State, Florida State, Florida State. 21-17.
I think that's 6 words, but that still works.
No.
Jeremy.
I got to agree with Dom on this one, on her side of the woods. I'm going Florida State as well, 24-21. It's close now. I gave you a close one. I could have gone more than that, but I gave it 24-21.
We're giving low-scoring games today,
I
aren't we?
don't like LSU.
Jesse.
Just say it already. Just say I do not like LSU. All right, LSU's winning this game 35-14.
Wow.
You will see Mike the Tiger push-ups all night.
You're going the
All
high
night.
scoring route, aren't you?
35-14.
I hope
think-
that offense is ready for our defense because you know we DBU.
I think it's the reason that we have one actual Louisiana resident and Louisiana native on this panel that has their loyalty to LSU. I'm going to go the other direction. I'm going to agree with these two. I'm going to say Florida State. I'm going to say 27-24. I think it's a low-scoring game, but I think Jordan Travis at the end of the day pulls through for Florida State. I'm not going to say that Jaden Daniels has a bad game. I think it's better than the first game that he had last year. But at the end of the day, I think Florida State, who's ranked number 8 to start this year, takes it. They take the ACC at the end of the year.
Hey man, can't wait to look forward to that competition.
All right, guys. Well, it was fun, and that's a wrap for us here at the Fox 14 studios for this edition of LSU Kickoff Special. For Jesse Davis, Dominique Williams, Jeremy Bryant, all those helping out behind the scenes, and the wonderful people in our production room, I'm Stephen Pappas. Have a great night.